Sagittarius. Final warning on May 18th to 20th. One mistake could cost you everything. Welcome to Buddhist Daily Wisdom, where every word is not just to be heard, but to open a door that leads you back to yourself. And if you are a Sagittarius, a soul of light, a seeker forever moving forward, then the moment you're hearing these words is no coincidence. It's a sign. A signal from the universe sent to the right person at the right moment. From May 18th to 20th, you'll be walking into a corridor of energy that makes no noise. It doesn't take the shape of chaos. There are no explosions to warn you, no one yelling, "Be careful." And because of that, it's even more dangerous. Because the things that can make you lose your destiny often begin with the feeling that everything is flowing just right. And Sagittarius, you are a soul that thrives on discovery, loves freedom, and lives by the fire of intuition. But remember, fire without direction can burn down the very path you're meant to walk. From May 18th to 20th, the Sun in Gemini, your opposite sign, will activate your mind at lightning speed. You'll want to decide. You'll want to speak immediately. You'll want to do something, right now. But the moon is shifting into Capricorn, calling you to slow down, observe, and weigh truth over emotion. This is where two opposing energies will pull you from within. One is the natural drive of Sagittarius to expand, to fly. The other is a subtle whisper from the universe. Not yet. Nostradamus, the mysterious prophet still not fully understood by the world, once left behind a vague but haunting prediction. The archer shall see the future in a flash, but not know it was a mirror. And you, the one always walking toward what lies ahead, must pause for a moment and ask, the truth I'm seeing, is it real intuition or just an illusion magnified by impatience? In Buddhist teachings, there is a concept called false view, the kind of seeing that is distorted, the kind of knowing that is off-center, but still believed to be truth. The Buddha taught, a mind not filtered through mindfulness gives rise to illusion, and illusion creates action. From that, karma is born. It doesn't take a catastrophic mistake. One single action, made from a restless heart, is enough to send you down the wrong timeline. And Sagittarius, these 3 days are that crossroads. The universe doesn't need you to stop forever. But it's asking, will you pause at the right moment? Do you have the courage to not follow every surge of excitement? The maturity to delay a decision, not out of fear but out of self-respect? The clarity to see, just because something feels urgent, doesn't mean it's ready? I invite you, right here as the first ritual of awakening, to press the subscribe button on Buddhist Daily Wisdom. Not to consume more, but to send an invisible vow to the universe. I choose to pause before I go wrong. I choose silence over false certainty. I choose awareness over emotional momentum. And if you feel even the slightest shift stirring in your chest, I ask you to ground it with a second act. Leave a comment beneath this video as an energetic declaration. I choose wisdom over impulse. I pause before I leap. Because when you write those words, you're not just anchoring yourself in the middle of a whirlwind of instinct. You're creating a point of stillness for other Sagittarians who may soon be swept away. And who knows? The line you write today could be the line that saves someone else from a wrong turn tomorrow. Sagittarius. You don't have to give up your dreams. You don't have to extinguish your flame. You just have to take control of the wind that's been carrying you. And these 3 days are your chance to prove you're no longer the Sagittarius of past years, acting on impulse, shooting arrows without aim. You are now the Sagittarius who takes aim before drawing the bow. A soul who no longer runs, but finally knows when to stand still, to see the path. Part 1. The dangerous energies of May 18 to 20 for Sagittarius. There are days when everything suddenly becomes strangely clear. Intuition rises fiercely, pushing you to act. The heart stirs with fire, as if you're standing at the threshold of something monumental. And you, Sagittarius, soul of vision and freedom, are often the first to catch those signals. But because of that, you are also the one most easily fooled by what you think is light, when in fact it may only be the flicker of an illusion not yet rooted in truth. From May 18th to 20th, you'll feel this more clearly than ever. A surge of energy rising within you, calling you forward, almost pushing you. You may feel an urge to say what you've been holding in, to finally act on a decision you've delayed, to pursue a feeling that makes you say, "This is what it means to feel alive." But this is the moment the universe begins to test you. Are you being led by true intuition, or pulled by an unfiltered state of mind? Astrologically, the Sun in Gemini, directly opposite your sign, will activate your mind to a high frequency, fast, alert, sharp, but also scattered. At the same time, the Moon will move into Capricorn, bringing the pull of structure, discipline, and grounded realism. These opposing forces collide within you, Sagittarius, your fire nature caught in the middle. On one side, emotional intensity. On the other, a whisper that it's not quite time yet. And to complicate it further, Jupiter, your ruling planet, moves near a tense angle to Uranus, creating what's called a philosophical impulsiveness. You'll feel like you've just seen it all, like you've reached a new plane of understanding, a crystal clear picture of the future. But remember, clarity is not always truth. Nostradamus once wrote, "The centaur shall gallop with a flaming bow, thinking he strikes stars, while the arrow falls into the sea." The archer races forward with a blazing bow, thinking he's hitting stars. But his arrow lands in the ocean. It sounds tragic. But if you've lived long enough inside the Sagittarius spirit, you'll understand that feeling of being sure you're on the right path, only to realize it was a loop created by your own urge to reach the finish line too soon. In Buddhist philosophy, this is called restless mind, when we are deceived not by evil, but by good desires we haven't yet examined. The Buddha said, "All illusions begin with a feeling that seems real, and the danger lies here. You won't even realize you're wrong, because you're not doing anything bad. You're just too fast, too convinced by an image that hasn't been tested. And that is exactly the danger zone you'll face during these 3 days. You may receive an offer to invest, a tempting partnership, someone returning from your past, an idea that sparks so brightly you want to burn everything down and start fresh. But if you act on that in a rush, without giving it time to settle, you could step into a cycle that, in truth, you could have avoided with just 1 day of pause." This isn't theory. Let me give you a real story. Jordan Belfort, known as the Wolf of Wall Street, was born July 9th, but his Jupiter and ascendant sit in Sagittarius. He once admitted, "I didn't commit crimes because I was evil. I made mistakes because I thought I saw it clearly, what I mistook for intuition. I believed I was destined for something huge. But in truth, I was just someone who didn't know how to wait long enough to see clearly." A moment of inspiration without grounding, acted on, led him to prison. And it didn't begin with a massive error. It began with a small decision, made from a feeling that felt very right at the wrong time. Sagittarius, if you're standing at the edge of a choice, I invite you to stop for just one breath, slow down, and ask deeply within, is this coming from my soul, or from a craving to prove something? Because when you listen deeply, you'll know. Truth never excites the nervous system. Truth brings calm. Illusion, no matter how beautiful, always comes with urgency. And if you feel caught in that storm, do one simple thing as a ritual of grounding. Press subscribe on Buddhist Daily Wisdom, not to watch more, but to send a signal to the universe that you've stepped out of the old loop. And if you've ever made mistakes from rushing, I invite you to comment right now, as a spiritual mark of separation from that past. I choose stillness. I no longer run with the fire, I walk with the light. Because if you just slow down a little, the right thing won't pass you by. Only the wrong thing will be too impatient to wait. Part 2. One mistake could cost you everything, for Sagittarius during May 18 to 20. Some mistakes don't come like an explosion. They arrive like a whisper, gentle, smooth, reasonable. They show up in moments when you feel, I've understood enough to decide. I believe enough to move forward. And when you're a Sagittarius, one who lives by the inner light, who follows intuition like a soul's compass, then the very moment you think things are crystal clear may be the moment you're most likely to go astray. Because your mistakes aren't like others. Your mistakes are purely Sagittarius, too fast, too certain, too beautiful to pause. Between May 18th and 20th, you'll enter an energetic corridor where one small action, one impulsive word, one unexamined decision could quietly take you off the timeline the universe intended for you. It doesn't have to be a big mistake. No one may blame you. But deep inside, you will know you veered off. And the most painful thing for a Sagittarius isn't being judged. It's feeling that you betrayed your own ideals. Nostradamus, like an ancient shadow whispering through the veil of time, once wrote, "The fire-born seeker shall mistake the storm for a path and walk into silence with pride. The fire-born seeker will mistake the storm for a path and step into silence with pride. This is not to scare you, it's to wake you, because there are times when you believe you're living in truth simply because you dared to act, dared to choose, dared to leap. But living in truth isn't always about forging ahead. It's about knowing when to pause, when to wait, and when to say, I'm not clear enough to move forward yet." Look at the journey of Kanye West, born June 8th, with Moon and Jupiter in Sagittarius, a creative genius, a boundary breaker, a man who built an empire with nothing but vision. But also someone who lost billions in brand value, not because he lacked talent, but because of uncontrolled decisions, words spoken too fast, when emotions ran too high. In an interview later, Kanye admitted, "I said what I believed to be true at the time, but I didn't check if that belief came from light or just a wounded ego defending itself." The Buddha taught, "Every mistake begins when we act from a restless mind, one not yet illuminated by mindfulness." And Sagittarius, you are a believer, an idealist, a leader by conviction. But that also means you're prone to confusing reaction for intuition, to mistaking passion for truth. You often feel the urge to do something right now, as if you'll lose your shot if you don't. But Buddha also said, true opportunity never needs to be chased. It stays still, waiting for the one clear enough to see it. Are you about to do something? Leave someone? Speak a truth that's not yet ready? Chase a dream that hasn't taken shape? Or give up because you've lost motivation? Pause, just for a moment, and ask yourself honestly, am I being led by the light? Or running from a fear I haven't yet named? Over these next 3 days, you'll be tested in subtle ways. A conversation that makes you want to walk away. An opportunity that screams, you'll regret this if you don't say yes. A person who shows up and stirs something deep in you that says, this must be it. But remember, anything that feels too intense, too urgent, must be placed into stillness before it's acted on. Because sometimes the universe doesn't send you an opportunity, it sends you a test. A real-world example. Elizabeth Holmes, founder of Theranos, dubbed the next Steve Jobs, born February 3rd, with Sagittarius rising and Mercury in Sagittarius. She believed in her dream so much that she ignored every warning. She trusted too quickly. She inspired too strongly. And then, one mistake. Choosing to act rather than observe. Choosing to present rather than to verify. The result was one of the greatest tech collapses in US history. It didn't begin with deception. It began with blind faith in a feeling of rightness. And you, standing on the threshold of something in your life, let these next 3 days be your ritual of realignment. Don't speak too soon, don't leap too fast, don't say yes or no to anything just because you're afraid of losing it. Because if you must lose yourself to keep an opportunity, then it was never really an opportunity. It was the birth of new karma. If you feel something in these words touch something deep inside, I invite you to mark this turning point with a spiritual commitment to clarity. Press subscribe to Buddhist Daily Wisdom, not to watch more, but as a vow to slow down long enough before the next leap. And if you've ever paid the price for a rushed decision or fear you're about to repeat it, comment below. I choose clarity. I no longer mistake fire for truth. Because once you write that, you're not just affirming it to yourself. You're sending a signal to every Sagittarius out there standing at a crossroads. You become the light. You become the one who aims with purpose before loosing the arrow. And that arrow won't miss again. Part 3. How to protect your energy. During these days, exclusively for Sagittarius, from May 18th to 20th. In a world full of noise, the hardest thing isn't to hear more, but to know how to turn things off. For Sagittarius, you're not short of motivation. You're not short of inspiration. You're not short of desire. But because you were born to move, to explore, to endlessly expand, you're also the one most likely to lose your center when you don't know how to pause. And from May 18th to 20th, as cosmic energies collide quietly but intensely, the only thing that can keep you from drifting off your destined path is the art of protecting your energy. Astrology shows that Jupiter, your ruling planet, is moving into a vibration with Uranus, where every inspiration could turn into an impulsive act in a single heartbeat. Meanwhile, the Capricorn moon is calling for steadiness, discipline, and deep clarity, 3 things that don't come from speed, but from stillness. And this is what the Buddha once taught. A mind with mindfulness is like the wind stopping in a forest. Every leaf falls silent. To truly hear your inner voice, you must learn to pause in order to be still. So, how does a Sagittarius, someone born with fire in their chest, learn to sit without putting out the flame? The answer doesn't lie in suppression. It lies in learning to channel the fire in the right direction, at the right time, through the right center. Ritual 1. Inhale. Ask again. Each morning from May 18th to 20th, before you do anything, don't touch your phone. Don't read the news. Just do one thing. Sit down. Close your eyes. Place your hand over your heart. And whisper 3 questions. What is making me restless? What am I trying so hard to achieve? If I did nothing today, what would really happen? Don't try to answer logically. Just observe the first image that arises. If it's a face, a word, a feeling, that is the thing you must understand most before starting your day. Ritual 2. Write, to untangle. You think fast, speak fast, decide fast, but sometimes that speed makes you blurry, and nothing untangles faster than a blank page. During these 3 days, each night before bed, write these 3 lines. I reacted instead of observing when. This emotion didn't come from today, it came from tomorrow. I choose not to speak until. Write not to analyze, but to move the energy from your mind into the pen, returning your mental space back to breath. A piece of paper can become a mirror if you're brave enough to look into it. Ritual 3. Touch the stone, anchor to the now. Sagittarius is a sign that easily disconnects from the body because you often live in the upper realms, where ideas, intuition, and emotions rush too fast. To anchor back into the present, carry a piece of sodalite to balance logic and intuition, or obsidian to cut ties with emotional noise. Every time you find yourself about to say something too fast or act on something too strong, hold the stone, take 3 breaths, and whisper, "This is not the only moment." I wait for the right wind. Ritual 4. 1-line meditation. Keep the axis steady. Each afternoon, once the work has quieted, find a private space. Just 5 minutes. Sit still, no force, no pressure to reach a state. Just close your eyes and breathe in slowly, thinking, I don't need to run to live right. Breathe out, thinking, I don't need to act to be myself. Just like that. 5 minutes is enough to bring the storming energy inside down to earth. Nostradamus once wrote, "Only the centaur who drinks still water shall cross the burning plains." Only the Sagittarius who knows how to drink stillness will make it through the scorched lands. And you know, most Sagittarians don't fail because they lack talent, but because they don't know how to wait for the right moment. Your sacred self doesn't need to prove itself with constant action. It proves itself by knowing when to stop while others keep rushing. The Buddha said, "The one who sees the path is not the fastest walker. It is the one who knows when to sit down." In the next 3 days, you'll receive many signals at once. Don't rush to believe the universe is sending signs. Check again. Where is it coming from? From light? Or from an unhealed craving? Because if you listen to everything, you'll be led by everything. And if you feel something inside you has softened while reading this, I invite you to anchor that awakened energy with one small act, powerful enough to shift your destiny timeline. Click the subscribe button on Buddhist Daily Wisdom, not for the content, but as a declaration. I will hold my axis. I will walk in the right direction. And if you've truly chosen to protect your energy, comment beneath the video. I walk slow. I walk clear. I walk true. That is your mantra. A phrase etched into your energy field. And every Sagittarius who writes that line will create a field of light where you won't have to walk alone anymore. Because in a world of reaction and speed, the one who dares to pause is already ahead. And you, Sagittarius, you're finally ready to no longer be the fastest, but to be the one who walks right. No one understands the power of an impulsive decision better than a Sagittarius. And no one feels more pain when they realize that what seemed like a true instinct was actually the wind that pushed them off their destined path. The following real-life stories, from famous Americans who carry strong Sagittarius energy, are living proof of that truth. They are not just lessons, but warnings. One single mistake, made at the wrong moment, can change an entire lifetime. The first story belongs to Britney Spears, born December 2nd, a classic Sagittarius. Her career once stood at its peak, known as America's Princess of Pop. But behind the spotlight was a young woman, free-spirited, bold, and unafraid to live her emotions out loud. In 2007, in a moment of mental crisis and media pressure, she shaved her head in the middle of the night, smashed a paparazzi's car like a silent scream from a soul under siege. One impulsive act, unfolding in just a few hours. But the price was 13 years of conservatorship, losing autonomy over her own life. No one can deny Britney's talent and heart. But what cost her everything wasn't a massive mistake. It was a series of reactions not guided by mindfulness. Another example is Woody Allen, born December 1st, director, writer, and actor, considered one of America's greatest creative minds. But a controversial relationship with his adopted daughter, Soon-Yi Previn, whom he publicly dated after breaking up with her mother, cast his legacy into a moral shadow. Even though he and Soon-Yi later married and had children, one ethically questionable choice stained a lifetime of work and ignited decades of public debate. Sagittarius loves freedom, loves authentic emotion, but freedom without wisdom becomes a fire that can burn down the sacred. We cannot forget Jay-Z, born December 4th, a brilliant Sagittarius who built a billion-dollar empire from nothing. But even Jay-Z admitted he almost lost it all, his family, his credibility, himself, because of a series of choices born from a wounded ego. In his album 444, Jay-Z confesses to betraying Beyoncé, the wife who stood by him. Not because he didn't love her, but because I hadn't healed myself yet. And when one is not mindful, even someone who holds everything can destroy it all in a moment of blindness. He once said, "I'm a Sagittarius. I always act first, think later. But eventually you pay with things you thought you'd never lose." Another painful example is former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, born December 6th. Strong-willed, decisive, Cuomo was once praised as a model leader during the pandemic. But multiple sexual harassment allegations from former staff and his defensive rather than mindful reaction to the scandal led to his resignation. His talent and contributions are undeniable. But the mistake wasn't what he did, it was how he responded under pressure. Sagittarius often believes too strongly in themselves, forgetting that truth must be contemplated, not asserted. And finally, there is Miley Cyrus, born November 23rd, a Sagittarius who ignited a new cultural wave with her rebellion, freedom, and refusal to conform. But Miley herself admitted, "I lost myself in my youth. I thought if I just followed my instincts, I'd be true to me. But sometimes my instincts were just the voice of an unhealed child." She changed her image, her direction, her lovers, like a restless journey without a center. It wasn't until she paused, meditated, and returned to herself that she wrote Flowers, a song born of clarity, not defiance. All of these people, at the top, talented, influential, fell into mistakes born not of malice, but of ungrounded action. And the terrifying part is, they didn't fail because they were bad. They failed because they moved too fast, trusted too soon, chose too quickly. One action, one word, one decision, and the light, once thought to be theirs forever, can fade. If you're still here, if you've made it to the very end of this journey with me, then I know one thing. You are no longer the Sagittarius you were yesterday. No longer the one who rushes toward every light. No longer the soul that burns through every opportunity just because you can't bear to wait. No longer the person who believes intense emotions are signs of truth. From the moment you entered these final minutes, something has shifted within you. Not loudly, not hastily, but undeniably. You no longer need to prove anything. You no longer need to run. You've started to return home. The 3 days from May 18th to 20th are not here to scare you. They come as an energetic threshold, a final exam, to see if the universe can trust that you've truly matured. Are you still chasing emotions, or have you learned to return to stillness? Are you still reacting, or have you learned to observe? Are you still afraid of missing out, or do you now trust that what's meant for you will always find you, if you are steady enough to wait? Nostradamus once left behind a nearly forgotten prophecy. When the firewalker stops to drink from the quiet stream, the stars shall realign in his favor. And you, Sagittarius, are the firewalker, but you are not the fire. You are the one learning how to lead it. And from now on, you are no longer a victim of the light you create. You are the keeper of the torch, one who knows when to raise it high and when to set it down so it doesn't burn what needs to be preserved. In Buddhism, there is a concept called satipatthana, the placing of mindfulness in the right place, at the right time. Not mindfulness everywhere, all the time, in a way that exhausts you. You don't always need to slow down. You only need to know when to slow down and when to move. Because in the next 3 days, if you act from stillness, then even if you do nothing at all, the universe will open the way. But if you act from urgency, then even as you move, you'll be walking backward and not realize it. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm not asking you to abandon your passion. I'm only asking you to pause for 5 seconds before every decision. Because those 5 seconds, that's all it might take to keep you on the right path. You don't have to change everything. Just change the way you approach everything. You don't have to run toward the light. Just become the light. And if you feel a quiet stillness rising inside you right now, even the smallest flicker, then that is your sign. You've touched your own center. And before you leave this video, I invite you to perform one simple ritual, as a mark of the beginning of a new cycle. Hit the subscribe button on Buddhist Daily Wisdom. Not just to hear more, but to send a message to the universe that you've chosen the right light, not the illusion of it. And if you've truly felt something shift in you during this journey, comment below with one simple, powerful sentence. I am not the fire. I am the guide. Because once you write that, you're not just affirming your center, you're marking the rebirth of a new Sagittarius. One who doesn't need to travel far, only to travel true. And finally, if you believe this video could help someone you know, someone who's about to make a mistake by trusting too quickly, moving too fast, feeling too much, then share it. Maybe you, in this one moment, become the light bringer the universe was waiting for. Maybe you are the one who helps them avoid exchanging their future for an emotional impulse. I wish you, Sagittarius, who has awakened 3 days of deep stillness, quiet clarity, and power strong enough to shift destiny. Trust this. You don't need to shoot any arrow, because when you are standing in the right place, your destination will find you.